Retail giant Amazon announced it is slashing 14,000 corporate jobs as it increases spending.
Microsoft laying off roughly 9,000 employees.
2025 wasn't the comeback year the industry had hoped for. Another round of closures, delays, cancellations, and disappointing launches had a lot of us wondering if things were ever going to get better again. But somehow, despite everything, genuinely great games still surfaced. Big ones, small ones, weird ones, games made with passion, not just marketing budgets. Today we're looking at why there's still hope for gaming, so join me as I ask and answer the simple question: should you make time for the future of gaming? The last 5 years, or some can argue the last decade, hasn't been kind. We've seen an industry obsessed with trend chasing, forced roadmaps after broken launches, publisher expectations that no team could realistically meet, and gaming corporations catering to investors rather than players. But through all that, the developers, the people who actually make the games, kept pushing, and 2025 is one of the clearest examples of this yet. Let's start with a sequel that didn't just play it safe, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Warhorse didn't try to reinvent the wheel, they evolved it. A massive, grounded world, smarter combat, a heavier story, and somehow more charm than the first game. Proof that you can make a deeply niche RPG rooted in history and non-fiction, and still absolutely crush it. Warhorse proved you can make a hardcore RPG without watering it down, and the players loved and rewarded them for it. Then you've got Clair Obscur Expedition 33, stylish, bold, and unlike anything else this year, with a story that at points left me speechless and teary-eyed. Turn-based combat with real-time precision, painterly visuals, a world dripping with atmosphere, and a soundtrack that should have not only been nominated, but win a Grammy. It's the kind of game that reminds you, creativity isn't dead, and it pushed the genre into the spotlight for players who would never try it. And the result? A multiple Game of the Year contender. But some of the highlights of this year didn't come from these bigger studios, like Silksong. Yes, it actually did come out. Was it worth the wait? Absolutely. Team Cherry delivered something both familiar and entirely new. Tighter movement, breathtaking bosses, and level design that proves they're still in a league of their own. And after over a year in early access, Supergiant did it again. Hades 2 is bigger, deeper, and somehow still as intimate as the first one. One of the best examples this year that great games don't need exploitative monetization or massive teams, just pure craftsmanship. And of course there's Abiotic Factor, which feels like if you get landmark games like Half-Life, SCP, and Control, a very nerdy and charming child. Not just tactical and systemic, but surprisingly heartfelt and well crafted. It's exactly the kind of multiplayer experience that kept me coming back. Easily one of the best survival games made this year. These games weren't just good, they were confident. They reminded us that studios can still swing for the fences when allowed, and make something meaningful. Games that felt like they were made by people who genuinely believed in their craft. And then, big multiplayer games in 2025 didn't come from massive studios either. They weren't chasing the next big live service. It came from smaller teams who understood something publishers often forget. Multiplayer does not mean MMO. Or live lobbies. It doesn't need a battle pass. It doesn't need 10-year content plans. It just needs to be fun, complete, stable, and replayable with friends. R.E.P.O came out. It's a tactical extraction style game where the fun isn't grinding gear, it's in the moment-to-moment execution. It rewards planning, communication, and improvisation instead of sweaty meta chasing. You're not dumping 200 hours into a seasonal treadmill, you're dropping it in with a group of friends to pull off tense, rewarding missions that feel complete every single time. Peak is what happens when a multiplayer game embraces movement, momentum, and mastery without taking itself too seriously. It's fast, physical, and kinetic. It's a reminder that multiplayer can still feel lighthearted, competitive, and joyful at the same time. I'd be remiss to leave out some of the more standard, mainstream, but amazing multiplayer games this year. Like Arc Raiders, which finally hit its stride in 2025 with its full release. After years of uncertainty, it launched with a strong identity, a grim, retro-futuristic extraction shooter with tension, stakes, and actual teamwork. Well, maybe uneasy teamwork. It feels like a massive step in the right direction for the genre. And of course, Battlefield 6. It earns a spot on this list given the franchise's history. In a world where shooters kept chasing trends or doing the exact same thing, DICE finally remembered what Battlefield is. Huge battles, destruction that matters, and those unpredictable only in Battlefield moments that no other shooter can touch. And the fanbase that was bruised for a decade finally gets a win. If the AAA industry spent 2025 trying to keep its head above water, the indie developers spent a year sprinting in every direction at once. and somehow they made magic in all of them. This is where the real experimentation happened. The risks, the weird ideas, the games that feel handcrafted rather than market tested. These titles might not have massive budgets, but they have something far more important: identity. Ball Pit became one of this year's most delightful surprises, a physics-based arcade roguelite that looks ridiculous until you realize how absurdly polished it is. The premise is simple: launch your balls, destroy the arena, and evolve the chaos. But underneath this goofy exterior is a razor-sharp gameplay loop, incredible moment-to-moment action, and a just one more run addiction that most AAA games would kill for. It's the kind of game you boot up for 5 minutes and lose 3 hours to it without blinking. And if 90s cartoons, WarioWare, and a fever dream had a baby, it would be like Megabonk. What makes it stand out is its confidence. It doesn't care about being safe. It cares about being fun. Every level introduces new ideas, new twists, and new jokes. And somehow the mechanics are tight enough to support the chaos. It's creative, playful, and full of heart. Exactly what an indie game is all about. Escape from Duckov started as a parody, a silly nod to extraction shooters. Then, it turned out to be genuinely good. The humor is sharp, the world building is clever, and the mechanics are way deeper than you'd expect. It's a satire that respects the genre enough to innovate on it, while making fun of everything that makes it feel exhausting. It's fun, it's weird, it's memorable, and it doesn't take itself too seriously. Indie devs carried 2025. Again, no monetization tricks, no manipulative design, just creativity and care. And if this year has taught us anything, it's that gaming isn't dying. The corporate model of gaming is. But the art form, the creativity, the passion, that's very much alive. Great games are still being made, great ideas still break through, and players still show up when something is genuinely good. There's still hope, not because of corporations and their tactics, but because of developers who care. So, should you make time for the future of gaming? Of course, absolutely, because even in this tough year, these games proved there's still so much to look forward to. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this retrospective, consider subscribing. You can check out more videos right now, and remember, always make time for games.